Section 5. Rome and the Roots of Western Civilization. The Romans borrowed many of their ideas from the Greeks, but also created their own art, architecture, language, and law. The mixing of Greek, Hellenistic, and Roman cultures is sometimes referred to as Greco-Roman culture or classical civilization. Roman art and literature conveyed the ideas or the ideals of strength, permanence, and solidity. Unlike the Greeks, who used beauty and idealization in their fine arts, the Romans used the work of realism. To showcase realism, the Romans used a low-relief procedure, which was a type of sculpture with images projecting from a flat background. This was used to tell stories and represent crowds of people. The Romans also produced many mosaics. These were pictures made by setting a small piece of stone or glass onto tile or onto another surface. Many wealthy individuals had at least one in their homes. The Romans also painted a number of frescoes, which were painted on the walls of their homes. Pompeii has some of the best examples of these frescoes. They were created here around the 2nd century BC. They were preserved when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, which preserved the works of the Romans. When it came to literature, the Romans also borrowed from the Greeks. Stoicism was one of these ideas that they borrowed from the Greek teacher Zeno. This encouraged much virtue, duty, moderation, and endurance. Virgil was a poet who wrote Aeneid, which is about the founding of Rome. It was in praise of Rome after the epics of Homer. Virgil spoke of government as Rome's greatest contribution to its society. Today we still utilize some of the same forms that the Romans used in their government, including ideas like checks and balances. Ovid was a poet who wrote about light poetry. He believed that he could only compose when he was in love. When it came to history, Tacitus criticized many changes that were brought by Octavian in the luxurious life of the wealthy. He liked to present the facts, and he was concerned about the lack of morality throughout Rome. Galen was a famous Roman physician who created a medical encyclopedia that was used for years to follow. The legacy of Rome can be seen in many different areas today. The Latin language is one of them. This became the language of the West and also for the Roman Catholics into the 20th century. Half of all English words today are based on Latin. When it came to architecture, the Romans had a number of contributions as well. They perfected the arch and the dome, and they were the first to use concrete. They built structures like the Colosseum. They also built a number of aqueducts, which were supported bridges that brought down water from the nearby high-laying areas. Concrete enabled the Romans to transform architecture into what it is today. We can still see some of this today in our world, beginning with the Jefferson Memorial and all the Capitol buildings throughout Washington, D.C., and the rest of the nation. Roads were also built throughout the Roman Empire. This was first used for the army and then was later used for communication and trade. Roads are still used today and made of concrete, much like the Romans had first used. The most lasting contributions of the Romans was the Roman system of law. The Romans modified and expanded their legal system by doing two different things. They would pass new laws when they were needed, and they would interpret old laws to fit new circumstances. The Romans came to believe that the law should be applied fairly and equally to all individuals. The standards were influenced by Stoic philosophers and based on common sense and practical ideas. Some of these principles included equal treatment under the law, the idea that people are innocent until proven guilty, that a person should be punished only for their actions and not their thoughts, and that laws that were unreasonable should be set aside.